Hare Krishna. I am reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 27. Hare Krishna. Name has Hare Krishna. Attack by Chandavek on the city of King Purujan, the character of Kalakya. The great sage Narad continued, My dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, the wife of King Puranjan gave him all satisfaction and enjoy sex life with him. The queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion. Queen Puranjan embraced the king. After the king also responded by browsing her soldiers. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus King Puranjan became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit. In this way, increasingly overwhelmed by illusion, King Puranjan, although advanced in consciousness, remained always lying down with his head on the pillow of his wife's arm. In this way, he considered woman to be his ultimate life and soul. Becoming thus overwhelmed by the modes of ignorance, he could not understand the meaning of self realization, of his self, or of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear King Prasina Parhisad, in this way, King Puranjan, with his heart full of lust and sinful reactions, began to enjoy sex with his wife, and in this way, he knew his new life and youth expire in half a moment. The great sage Narad then addressed King Prasnapari Sath, O one whose lifespan is great Virat. In this way, King Puranjan begot 1100 sons within the womb of his wife. Puranjani, however, in this business, is passed away half of his lifespan. O Prajapati, King Prasina Barhisad, in this way King Puranjan also begat 110 daughters. All of these were equally glorified, like the father and mother. Their behavior was gentle, and they possessed magnanimity and other good qualities. After this, King Puranjan, king of the Panchal country, in order to increase the descendants of his paternal family, married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughter with qualified husbands. Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchal became overcrowded by these sons and grandsons of King Puranjan. These sons and grandsons were virtually plunderers of King Puranjan's riches. including his home, treasury, servants, secretaries, and all other paraphernalia. Puranjan's attachment for this thing was very deep rooted. The great sage Narad continued, "My dear King Parsinabarisa, like you, King Puranjan also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all very ghastly because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals. Thus King Puranjan, being attached to fruitive activities, Karmakandya, as well as Keith and Kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrive at that point, not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. O king, in Gandharva Lok, there is a king named Chantabeg. Under him, there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. Along with Chantabeg, whereas many female Gandharvis, as there were soldiers, all of them repetitively plunder all the paraphernalia for sense enjoyment. When King Gandharva Raja Chantabeg and his followers began to plunder the city of Puranjan, a snake with 5 hooves began to defend the city. The 5 hooded serpent, the superintendent and protector of the city of King Puranjan, fought with the Gandharvas for 100 years. He fought alone with all of them, although they number 720, because he had to fight alone with so many soldiers, all of whom were great warriors. The serpent with 5 hooves became very big, seeing that his most intimate friend was awakening. King Puranjan and his friend and citizens living within the city all become very anxious. King Puranjan collected tax in the city known as Pancha and thus was able to engage in sexual indulgence. Being completely under the control of women, he could not understand that his life was passing away and that he was reaching the point of death. My dear King Prasinabhahisad, at this time the daughter of formidable time was seeking her husband throughout the 3 worlds. Although no one agreed to accept her, she came. The daughter of time, Jara, was very unfortunate. Consequently, she was known as Durbhag, ill fated. However, she was once pleased with the great king, and because the king accepted her, she granted him a great benediction. When I once came to this earth from a Brahmalok, the highest planetary system, the daughter of time, wandering over the universe, met me, knowing me to be an avo brahmachari. She became lusty and proposed that I accept her. The great sage Narad continued. When I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely because I refused her request. She said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. After she was thus disappointed by me, with my permission, she approached the king of the Yavanas, whose name was Bhai or Fear, and she accepted him as her husband. Approaching the king of the Yavanas, Kalakankya addressed him as a great hero, saying, "My dear sir, you are the best of the untouchables. I am in love with you, and I want you as my husband. I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you. One who does not give charity according to the customs or injunctions of the scriptures, and one who does not accept charity in that way are considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Such persons follow the path of the foolish. Surely they must lament at the end." Kalanka continued, "O gentle one, I am now present before you to serve you. Please accept me and thus show me mercy. It is a gentleman's greatest duty to be compassionate upon a person who is distressed." After hearing the statement of Kalakankya, daughter of time, the king of the Yavanas began to smile and devise a means for executing his confidential duty on behalf of Providence. He then addressed Kalakankya as follows. The king of the Yavanas replied, "After much consideration, I have arrived at a husband for you. Actually, as far as everyone is concerned, you are inauspicious and mischievous. Since no one likes you, how can anyone accept you as his wife? This word is a product of your two activities. Therefore, you may impassability attack people in general. Helped by my soldiers, you can kill them without opposition." The king of the Yavanas continued, "Here is my brother Prajarva. I now accept you as my sister. I shall employ both of you, as well as my dangerous soldiers, to act impossibility within this world." Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the fourth canto, 27th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Attack by Chandaveg on the city of King Puranjan, the character of Kalankya. Right. Now next chapter, chapter 28. Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Hare Krishna. Narad Uvacha. Hare Krishna. The great sage Narad continued, "My dear King Prasina Parhisad, afterward the king of the Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajarva, Kalankya and his soldiers, began to travel all over the world. Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjan with great force, although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification. It was being protected by the old serpent. Gradually, Kalakankya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjan city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. When Kalakankya, daughter of time, attacked the body, the dangerous soldiers of the king of the Yavana entered the city through different gates. They then began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. When the city was thus in danger by the soldiers and Kalankya, King Puranjan, being overly absorbed in affection for his family, was placed in difficulty by the attack of Yavan Raj and Kalakankya. When King Puranjan was embraced by Kalakankya, he gradually lost all his beauty, having been too much addicted to sex. He became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Being bereft of all possessions, he was conquered forcibly by the Gandharvas and the Yavanas. King Puranjan then saw that everything in his town was scattered, and that his sons, grandsons, servants, and ministers were all gradually opposing him. He also noted that his wife was becoming cold and indifferent. When King Puranjan saw that all his family members, relatives, followers, servants, secretaries, and everyone else had turned against him, he certainly became very anxious, but he could not counteract the situation because he was solely overwhelmed by Kalakankya. The objects of enjoyment become stale by the influence of Kalakankya due to the continuance of his lusty desires. King Puranjan became very poor in everything. Thus, he did not understand the aim of life. He was still very affectionate toward his wife and children, and he worried about maintaining them. The city of King Puranjan was overcome by the Gandharva and Yavan soldiers, and although the king had no desire to leave the city, he was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalankya. Under the circumstances, the elder brother of Yavan Raj, known as Prajarva, set fire to the city to please his younger brother, whose other name is Fear itself. When the city was set ablaze, all the citizens and servants of the king, as well as all family members, sons, grandsons, wives, and other relatives, were within the fire. King Purunjan thus became very unhappy. The city's superintendent of police, the serpent, saw that the citizens were being attacked by Kalakankya, and he became very aggrieved to see his own residence set ablaze after being attacked by the Yavanas. As a serpent living within the cavity of a tree wishes to live when there is a forest fire, so the city's police superintendent, The snake wished to leave the city due to the fire's severe heat. The limbs of the serpent's body were slackened by the Gandharvas and Yavan soldiers, who had truly defeated his bodily strength. When he attempted to leave the body, he was checked by his enemies. Being thus baffled in his attempt, he began to cry loudly. Krishna, Krishna. King Puranchand then began to think of his daughters, sons, grandsons, daughter-in-law, sons-in-law, servants, and other associates, as well as his household paraphernalia, and his little accumulation of wealth. King Puranchand was overly attached to his family and conceptions of I and mine because he was overly attracted to his wife. He was already quite proven stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sorry. King Puranchand was anxiously thinking, alas, my wife is encumbered by so many children. When I pass from this body, how will she be able to maintain all these family members? Alas, she will be greatly harassed by thoughts of family maintenance. King Puranchand then began to think of his past dealings with his wife. He recalled that his wife would not take her dinner until he had finished his, that she would not take her bath until he had finished his, and that she was always very much attached to him, so much so that if he would sometimes become angry and chastise her, she would simply remain silent and tolerate his misbehavior. King Puranchand continued thinking how, when he was in a state of bewilderment, his wife would give him good counsel, and how she would become aggrieved when he was away from home. Although she was the mother of so many sons and heroes, the king still feared that she would not be able to maintain the responsibility of household affairs. King Puranchand continued worrying, after I pass from this world, how will my sons and daughters, who are now fully dependent on me, live and continue their lives? Their position will be similar to that of passengers aboard a shipwreck in the midst of the ocean. Although King Puranchand should not have lamented over the fate of his wife and children, he nothing the less did so due to his miserly intelligence. In the meantime, Yavan Raj, whose name was Fear itself, immediately drew near to arrest him. Yes. When the Yavanas were taking King Puranchand away to their place, binding him like an animal, the king's followers became greatly aggrieved. While they lamented, they were forced to go along with him. The serpent, who had already been arrested by the soldiers of Yavanraj and was out of the city, began to follow his master along with the others. As soon as they all left the city, it was immediately dismantled and smashed to dust. When King Puranjan was being dragged with great force by the powerful Yavan out of his gross intelligence, he still could not remember his friend and well-wisher, the Super Soul. That most unkind king, Puranjan had killed many animals and various sacrifices. Not taking advantage of this opportunity, all these animals began to pierce him with their horns. It was though he were being cut to pieces by axes. Due to his contaminated association with women, a living entity like King Puranjan eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remains in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. King Puranjan gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently, in his lake's life, he became a very beautiful and well situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. It was fixed that Vaidarbhi, daughter of King Vidarbha, was to be married to a very powerful man, Malyadhwaj, an inhabitant of the Pandu country. After conquering other princes, he married the daughter of King Vidarbha. King Malyadhwaj's father one daughter who had very black eyes. He also had seven sons who later became rulers of the tract of land known as Dravid. Thus there were seven kings in that land. My dear King Prasinabarhisad, the sons of Malyadhaj gave birth to many thousands and thousands of sons, and all of these have been protecting the entire world up to the end of one Manu's life span and even afterward. The great sage named Agastya married the firstborn daughter of Malyadhaj, the avowed devotee of Lord Sri Krishna. From her, one son was born, whose name was Dhritarajyut, and from him another son was born, whose name was Idmava. After this, the great saintly king Malyadhaj divided his entire kingdom among his sons. Then, in order to worship Lord Sri Krishna with full attention, he went to a solitary place known as Kudlachal. Just as the moonshine follows the moon at night. Immediately after King Malyadhwaj departed for Kulachal, his devoted wife, whose eyes were very enchanting, followed him, giving up all homely happiness despite family and children. In the province of Kulachal, there were rivers named Chandravas, Tapraparni, and Vatadhog. King Maladhwaj used to go to those pious rivers regularly and take his bath there. Thus he purified himself externally and internally. He took his bath and ate bulbs seeds, leaves, flowers, roots, fruits, and grasses, and drank water. In this way, he underwent severe austerities. Eventually,